It looks like Twitter is getting a list of new rules, and number one is now do not upset Elon Musk. Last week, the world was shocked when he suspended a group of tech journalists from the platform, with a very sketchy explanation at best. He created a new policy on a whim and claimed that these accounts were now violating the company's rules about revealing people's location. Musk also claimed that these journalists had doxed him, but we already know that this was not the real reason. In fact, it was more to do with what they wrote about him, because it wasn't very flattering. You might be surprised to know that the origins of this mass suspension really comes down to two things: his private jet and a clever college student that was tracking his every flight. So let's get into the top 10 Twitter accounts Elon Musk has banned with zero explanation. Number 10, the Elon Jet Account. Last week, Twitter permanently suspended an account that tracked the location of Elon Musk's private jet, despite the fact that he initially promised to leave the account up as a part of his commitment to free speech. The Elon Jet account, which has amassed more than 500,000 followers, was run by Jack Sweeney, a 20-year-old Florida college student who used publicly available flight tracking information to build a Twitter bot that tweeted every time Musk's jet took off and landed at an airport. Sweeney woke up on Wednesday morning to a message from Twitter informing him that he has been permanently suspended. Apparently, Musk has been frustrated with his idea for quite some time. In fact, it bothered him so much that he personally reached out to Sweeney last December through a private message asking him to take his account down because it posed a security risk. The billionaire then offered him $5,000 to shut it down, but the student became emboldened and countered the offer, asking for $50,000 instead to help pay for his college fees and maybe even get him a car. After some back and forth, Musk responded saying that it doesn't feel right to pay to shut this down. He also posted his justification for the new policy, tweeting, "Any account doxing real-time location info of anyone will be suspended, as it is a physical safety violation. This includes posting links to sites with real-time location info. Posting locations someone traveled to on a slightly delayed basis isn't a safety problem, so it's okay." Number 9, Ryan Mac. The New York Times tech reporter wrote on a new Twitter account that he was given no warning before his account was suspended, and that he had received no communication from the company about the reason that his account was permanently suspended. Ryan was a part of the half a dozen prominent journalists that became suspended on the platform. It was clear what the suspensions all had in common though, as each user's Twitter page included a message that said it suspended accounts that violated the Twitter rules. Some of the journalists whose accounts were suspended had written about the actions that tracked the private jets, or had tweeted about those accounts. Many have also written articles that have been highly critical of Musk and his takeover of Twitter. In a tweet, he said that Twitter's rules on doxing applied to journalists as well as everyone else. Although he did not elaborate, obviously he was insinuating that these accounts were all posing a security risk to him and his family, as he believes that on some level they were sharing his personal information. A spokesperson for the Times released a statement saying, "Tonight's suspension of the Twitter accounts of a number of prominent journalists, including the New York Times' Ryan Mac, is questionable and unfortunate. Neither the Times nor Ryan have received any explanation about why this occurred. We hope that all of the journalists' accounts are reinstated and that Twitter provides a satisfying explanation for this action." Number 8, Taylor Lorenz. The Washington Post journalist was suspended from Twitter on Saturday simply for asking Musk for a comment on a story. Lorenz said that she and her colleague Drew Harwell, who's also had his account suspended, publicly tweeted at Musk for an interview after they'd been unable to get in contact with him throughout the week. She later opened Twitter to see a message that said that she was permanently suspended. There was no reason given for the ban, although Musk said that the account would only be temporarily suspended due to prior doxing action from the account. Washington Post executive editor Sally Busby spoke out about the news and released a statement saying, "The arbitrary suspension of another Post journalist further undermines Elon Musk's claim that he intends to run Twitter as a platform dedicated to free speech. Again, this suspension occurred with no warning, process, or explanation. This time, as our reporter merely sought comment from Musk for a story. Post journalists should be reinstated immediately, without arbitrary conditions." Ironically, Musk is now being called out for his hypocrisy surrounding the decision to silence Twitter accounts that he disagrees with. He once tweeted, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter, because that is what free speech means. although clearly he's struggling to make good on his statement. Number 7, Mastodon. It looks like Twitter users will no longer be able to link certain rival social media websites, including what the company describes as prohibited platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Mastodon. It seems as though Musk is especially threatened by Mastodon, which has grown rapidly in recent weeks as an alternative for Twitter users who are unhappy with the way that he's running the company. Mastodon is being called the alternative to Twitter, although it's still a platform in its infancy with only 2 million active users a month, compared to Twitter's 237.8 million. But the main reason that people like it is that when you join a server, it apparently puts you with like-minded users, rather than forcing you to view a kaleidoscope of different opinions. Musk released a statement saying, "We know that many of our users may be active on other social media platforms. However, going forward, Twitter will no longer allow free promotion of specific social media platforms on Twitter." And with that, an error message notified some users that links to Mastodon had been identified as potentially harmful by Twitter or its partners. Musk gave no explanation for the blacklisting, but it could have something to do with the fact that the platform's main Twitter account tweeted about the Elon Jet controversy just last week, and maybe he doesn't feel like shouting out any other platform that directly rivals his own. Number 6, Linette Lopez. The Business Insider journalist branded Elon Musk a hypocrite in a recent interview after her account remained suspended on Twitter. Lopez is one of the several journalists whose account were withheld by Musk after he accused them of sharing private information about his whereabouts. Interestingly enough, while the majority of accounts have since been reinstated, especially after Musk posted a Twitter poll, Lopez's account remained withheld. Her account was suspended after she shared court documents on Twitter, revealing that he had allegedly hacked and doxed people in the past. During an explosive interview with MSNBC last Friday, she accused the tech billionaire of being guilty of all the things that he is angry at the liberal media for doing. She said, "And he's never been any different from that. We're all just seeing it now. The reason I felt I was suspended is because Elon didn't want them to see him as a hypocrite." She went on to say, "It's funny that Elon suddenly has a problem with doxing people because he has a history of doing that before people were paying such close attention to him." Since her suspension, several researchers and journalists have shared her work in solidarity and support. Max Burns retweeted her article and said, "Business Insider reporter Linette Lopez was just suspended from Twitter for the mere act of reporting on Elon Musk. No one is even pretending she broke any Twitter rules. This is simply a case of being a good reporter who Musk really dislikes." Number 5, Donnie O'Sullivan. The CNN technology correspondent warned that Elon Musk's decision to suspend several reporters from Twitter, including himself, could have a chilling impact on journalism. O'Sullivan spoke to Anderson Cooper and said, "In terms of me personally, many of the national reporters at the Times and the Post, we're okay. I'm on the Anderson Cooper show, we have a platform. And just like when Trump got kicked off, we can post elsewhere." He went on to say, "I do think this is very important about the potential chilling impact this can have for freelance journalists. Independent journalists around the world, particularly those who cover Elon Musk's other companies like Tesla and SpaceX, I think this could have a really chilling factor." O'Sullivan's Twitter account was suspended last Thursday for what Musk has labeled as doxing. The reporter also pointed out that the new wave of suspensions directly contradicts his so-called love of free speech, saying, "As we saw him with the jet tracker last night, Musk seems to be just stamping out accounts that he doesn't like." As for the head of Twitter, in response to the growing backlash, he said, "Criticizing me all day long is totally fine, but doxing my real-time location and endangering my family is not." He further explained his decision in a series of tweets, insisting that a stalker had followed a car that carried his son, and apparently they blocked the car from moving and even climbed onto the hood. Number 4, Matt Binder. The writer of Mashable was one of the journalists who had his account suspended simply for writing about what happened to Jack Sweeney and his Elon Jet account. Binder has since posted an article writing about the experience titled, "Twitter has a freedom of speech problem and it's Elon Musk." He's unsure of the exact reason why he ended up getting suspended, although Musk claimed that Binder posted his exact real-time location, which was basically assassination coordinates, which is in direct violation of Twitter's terms of service. But more likely, it might have been because he took a screenshot of Donnie O'Sullivan's last tweet and then posted it himself. This post that Musk was scrambling to get rid of was an LAPD statement regarding the alleged stalking incident. The statement said that the LAPD had not yet heard from him and that no police report had been filed. That was the tweet that got O'Sullivan immediately suspended. As for Binder, what was the main takeaway of this experience? Well, he believes that it proves that Musk can do whatever he likes with the platform, considering that it's a private company. He can choose to suspend, shadow ban, roll out, cancel, or reverse policies on a whim. But when it comes down to recent bans, Binder, like many, believes that they are at odds with his vision for Twitter. Number 3, Aaron Rupar. The former Vox journalist who now works independently was one of the many who had their Twitter account suspended last week. He spoke with Digite about how he found out and what it means for his work and business. He said, "My phone started blowing up, and it was people either emailing me or Instagram saying, 'Oh my goodness, your Twitter account is suspended.' So I pulled up Twitter, and sure enough, at the top of my page, there was a notice that my account had been permanently suspended. I hadn't heard anything at that time at all from Twitter. From that point on, he tried to contact some other reporters and people who had also been banned to figure out what was going on. Eventually, they realized that it had a lot to do with a tweet he posted mentioning the Elon Jet account. Rupar said, "Essentially, I ended up being banned for something that wasn't a terms of service violation when I posted it, but retroactively ended up being one." What was the reason that Twitter gave him? You guessed it, violating the doxing policy by sharing Musk's exact real-time location. However, Musk did not clarify in what way he believed that the reporters who were suspended had shared his exact real-time location. The news articles about him that several reporters had published before their accounts were suspended did not include any information about his location. Number 2, Tony Webster. The independent journalist said that he'd been tweeting about Elon Jet prior to the removal of his account. In an email he wrote, "Twitter had become the heartbeat of news in society. Banning journalists for doing their job is not the free speech that Elon Musk promised." Webster, like many of the others who found their accounts suspended, said he received no explanation of the social media platform's decision. This latest Twitter news has prompted widespread criticism from lawmakers and bewilderment from several of the reporters taken off the platform. Adam Schiff, the chair of House Select Committee on Intelligence, said, "Musk's willingness to tolerate hate and his intolerance for journalistic criticism make a mockery of his claims to support moderation or free speech. He should immediately reinstate the suspended journalists and provide clarity to Congress on the rash decision to ban them in the first place." Overwhelmingly, lawmakers have called for Congress to act, though they did point to the fact that there was no specific legislation or concrete next steps in place. And coming in at number 1, Micah Lee. The Intercept journalist wrote about his experience getting suspended, what he thinks led him to that moment, and the future of Twitter. Lee wrote that Musk went on a power-hungry suspension spree, and while Twitter didn't explain what rules he broke, the whole thing was to be expected from the platform's new leadership. Apparently, it had something to do with the fact that he posted about Twitter banning the account of its competitor Mastodon. Lee said, "The suspensions made it clear that, with the self-styled free speech absolutist at the helm, Twitter users are now subject to arbitrary censorship based on his whims." To sum up how he feels after getting suspended, he wrote, "I spent the last month writing articles that point out Musk's hypocrisy as someone who promised to be fighting for free speech in America. While my reporting may not have provided the direct impetus for my suspension, it's clear Musk was taking aim specifically at journalists who have covered him critically. And the best response to that is to read the work that billionaires would prefer you don't. Since the incident, Musk has attempted damage control by restoring a lot of the accounts. But of course, it was only after he used a Twitter poll to ask the public whether or not he should go through with it. He clearly wanted to appear diplomatic when he was the one responsible for this situation in the first place." Well, that's everything that we have on the list for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.